Welcome back. Thanks for tuning in to another video here. Leading on from my first video talking about my love for tabletop wargaming, I thought maybe I'd show you the project that I was working on just before my Horus Heresy Word Bearers, and that was this one here, Warlord Games Victory at Sea. Let me see if I get this into focus here. This I have had for a few weeks, or maybe 2.5 weeks, and I've gotten almost all the ships painted, and I would like to show those off just so you can see what's in the box or what they look like. Now, like I said before, I'm no pro painter, so you can't expect a whole lot from me here when it comes to painting, but my starter set, if that's in focus, I hope it is. My starter set didn't come with the American cruisers. It only came with the Japanese cruisers. It did come with the American destroyers and the Japanese destroyers, but instead of the American cruisers, I got double the amount of Japanese cruisers, which normally, Warlord Games are really good about replacing that. That's not a problem. The American cruisers they're on their way in the mail as we speak, I hope. But this is a particular game where, unlike, say, Warhammer, for instance, this Marine, you can, with these Marines, they're just blank Marines, so you can always use these for something else. Maybe I didn't explain that very well, but let me explain a little bit better here. These ships are, it's not going to focus for me here, is it? Let me see if I can try and focus. These ships are named. So for Ataka, Mogami, like Kimono, they're named. So getting doubles of these ships doesn't really help me because they're named. I can't have two Furutakas. Sure, I can have two Furutaka class cruisers, but not two of the Furutaka himself or itself. So that kind of sucked, but Warlord Games, let me just make sure I get the end screen here. So Warlord Games, they did send me the replacements, so I'm happy about that. But let me show you where I've gotten. I picked up the main bundle when I went on pre-order, so I got the base game, the starter set, I should say, and then I bought let me get set of frame here. I bought the Japanese fleet, and that comes with a really cool carrier, the Zuikaku and the Kongo, and then I got the Yamato, like you've seen on the last video. But I haven't played the game yet. I'm going to play the game this weekend with my partner here, Simple Games. But I was so impressed with the miniatures that I went ahead and I bought myself the Royal Navy fleet pack and the Bismarck single ship. And that's just to have a quick game of the Bismarck and the Royal Navy, kind of dueling it out. But let me go ahead and show you the miniatures here. Let me get my camera in focus here. Bear with me. Sorry, no one likes this, but I'm new to this. But let me show you the American, what I do have of the American force. I have 6 Fletcher class destroyers, really nice minis. And then the pre-order did come with the American battleship, the USS Arizona. And it was sunk at Pearl Harbor, I understand. But it's still a really cool miniature. So let me just take a look at it here. Fair amount of detail there. People say they don't like these, not sure what they call them, sausage bases or cookie bases, whatever they're called. But me, I love them. I think they're great. I don't think it's a problem at all. I mean, look, moving my ship. My ship's turning this way now. It's turning that way now. It's turning this way. I'm not touching the ship itself. I'm touching the base. Now, these, like I said, I'm not a pro painter, so these were really basic colors. So what I did was I sprayed the whole thing in light gray primer. A light gray primer. Basically the color of the hull there. And then I dry brushed it with not a white color, sort of an off-white color, like more on the white with a tinge of yellow in it. I dry brushed the whole model, the waves and all. And then what I did was I got GW's contrast blue, not ultramarine blue, not the greeny blue, the Talazar blue. And then I carefully did the whole base with that, and then I dry brushed the base again with the same white I did earlier, or off-white I did earlier. And then the base, or the deck, that is Mechanica Standard Gray. Just a coat of that. And then the boats are done in an off-white, and then washed. And then, of course, the metallics are done with, any metallic color you can think of. And I think, from tabletop version, let's say he's over there, he looks pretty good. The destroyers are done the same way, literally exactly the same way. Maybe with a little bit of an ochre color for the life rafts there. But, it is what it is. It it's not going to win any awards, but it looks pretty good to me. So there's the 6 Fletchers, which I always love the look of these ships. So that's the American forces. Let me just get them off screen here and bring in the next group. The next group, let's see who we start off with. We'll start off with the Japanese. So the Japanese cruisers we'll start off with. Here we go. There's a lot of cruisers. Bear with me here. Boop, boop, boop. So many Japanese cruisers. We got another one here somewhere. There he is. So here is the Japanese cruisers. I'll try and go in order of one to the other. So here we are. We have 6 cruisers that come in the starter set and the fleet pack. You get I'll take these 2 out of the way for a moment. You get the 4 Mogami class cruisers. Pretty much identical. There's some subtle variations in the actual ships, the hull layout. I mean, so here's the Makuma, a 1942 layout. And this was done the same way, painted the same way as the American battleships and destroyers, the light gray, but then the deck armor, the decking was painted with a brown ochre instead of a dark gray, and basically just followed the same steps. But here is the Mogami class, the Makuma, I think that's the name, I don't know, pronunciations fail. The Kamano, here you can see a bit of the bendy barrels. I tried desperately in hot water to hold these in and bend them back, but the set came with, and let me talk about this for a second. The set came with 3, the Japanese ships especially, they came in 3 different types of resin. The larger ships, so the battleships and the carrier, they came in a white resin, and that white resin was fantastic. An amazing model, amazingly cast, amazing detail, amazingly clean, crisp, beautiful, 10 out of 10. The cruisers came in an assortment of 2 different types of resin. A dark gray resin that the detail was okay. I mean, maybe the dark gray kind of to your eye, maybe made it look a little off, but the dark gray was decent. A little powdery, needed a good wash and a toothbrush clean. And then some of them came in this gray yellow tinged resin. And it was terrible. I mean, terrible resin, terrible. The detail, there was detail, but there was so many problems with it, like little casting errors or little let me get here my little points where I could point to some of them, like places like right here, there'd be little things that hung off that you'd have to clip off with one of these knives or a pair of snippers, snip, snip. And it was just terrible. And although the casting of the cruisers were okay in the dark gray resin, these turrets came in the yellowish resin, and I could not for the life of me get these to bend up, even in hot water. But anyway, at the table, down on the table, you're not going to really notice it. So there's the Kamano. Here is the Mogami himself in the 1939 version. The turrets on this one are a lot better. But another nice ship. And who's this one? This one is the Soyuza, 1944. So the Maybe not as clean as I should have made this. The paint job's maybe not as great as you might expect but I'm happy with them. The Seuza has a fact that had me going on Google about it, and it is they haven't found the wreck, I don't think, but I think it is basically the deepest wreck in the ocean, and it's pretty far down. So neat to have that model and have that fact. Look it up yourself. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Who knows? So there's the 4 Mogami class cruisers. Now we're going to move on to the Furitaka. This was the ship that came in the crappiest resin they could get, and the turret's a little bendy there, but I cleaned it up as best I could. I think this here is one of those little tabs I was talking about right here. But I couldn't tell if that was supposed to come off or not, or if it was part of the ship, like an antenna. And that was the problem. Like every single one of these turrets had one of these little nibs sticking off of it. It was a disaster. And this was as clean as I could make it without killing myself. I mean, I got a pretty nasty nick right here, right? And I cut myself several times with the knife trying to clean it up. But here it is anyway, the Furitaka. You can see that it's let's get the Mogami out. So whereas the Mogami is a heavy cruiser, the Furitaka is just a regular cruiser. So they're a little different base sizes. You can see way more guns on the Mogami than there is on the Furitaka. And generally, it's a thinner model too. So pretty cool. Now these models, by the way, in the game, they're really expensive. You can barely have, I would never be able to afford to have all 4 of these in a game. They're almost 300 points each. That's crazy. So here's the Furitaka, and then we have the light cruiser, the only light cruiser in the 2 sets, and that is the Agano class Yahagi, and you can see it compared to the Furitaka is smaller again. Let me just see if I can line these up. Smaller again, and not any thinner, maybe even a little thicker, but you can definitely tell the guns are completely different scale. So these are really light guns. So this is the light cruiser, which, I'm generally a fan of little light cruisers. I think they do most of the heavy lifting in both world wars. So there we go. There's the Japanese cruisers. So let's move on to the Japanese battleships. So here is the first one. This is the Congo. Again, painted the exact same way as the other ones, except the decking was given, instead of a dark ochre like the heavy cruisers, it was given a light ochre color, light yellow tan color. But painted exactly the same. Like I said, I could spend a year painting this and hope to win an award, but I'm not going to win any awards. I don't want an award, so I just want them on the table. I just want to play with them on the table. Now, this was one of the white resin casts, and you can probably tell no difference here with my terrible camera skills, but this cast was fantastic. All the little turrets here, the antennas, the cranes, they were all metal instead of resin. They're all white metal, and they just went together so much nicer. You can see it's a much bigger model than a cruiser, a heavy cruiser. Oh, turn it around, facing the right way. A much bigger model. Look at the width of them. Substantial. Beautiful model. I always loved the ship. One of the first higher tier battleships in World of Warships that I ever had was the Congo. And I've never actually gotten past it. I haven't played the game that often, but I do have the Congo in World of Warships, and I like it. So here it is in model form, which makes me a little happy. I don't know why. It does. Next is the Behemoth. Next is the Yamato. And next to the Congo, here, let me bring them back into screen here. Next to the Congo, there's really no comparison. Width and everything, it's just not even close. Another ship made in the white resin. fantastic with white metal turrets and bits. You know, much easier to work with, much easier to bend back into shape. You know, it's a really nice ship. Again, my paint job isn't the best, obviously, but I mean, let me just kind of get this into focus. But it's a nice ship. It's a nice model, and my painting skills are low, but boom, he's done. He's on the table. He's ready to go, ready to shoot. I had the turret sticking outwards, you know, aft. Was that? This is aft. No, this is aft. I don't know my nautical terms, but out the front, out the back, nothing fancy. I didn't want to have them tilted or turned. For some reason, when I'm playing a game, if it was turned facing this way out here, but the ships were firing at was over here, it would bug me. So, although it would look more diorama-ish if it was pointing out a different way. But anyway, here's a Yamato, a really nice ship. Look at it next to the little light cruiser, you know, mommy and daddy, or mommy and baby. There we go. Last Japanese ships we'll get to are the destroyers. Now, I won't show them all, but there is, well, maybe I will. There is 6 destroyers in those 2 sets, so 3 in each. So here's all 6 of them. Now they're broken down into 2 different classes. I think it's this way here. So here's the ones you get in the starter set, the Fubuki. Painted exactly the same as the cruisers. Light gray, brown ochre hull or deck, silver, the Talisar blue over light gray, and dry brushed with the off-white. So there's 6 Fubukis, lots of torpedoes on that, and then there are 3 Fubukis and 3 Kagurus. And here's a Kaguru. I don't know if you can see any difference there. There's the bases are exactly the same size, but there's a slight difference in the conning tower. The turret layout's slightly different. There's more. Let me get my brush in here. There's more torpedo launchers here. So there's some here, here, and here, whereas there's only one here and here on the Kaguru. But other than that, basically the same. I mean, at high levels, you're not going to really tell. So there's those 6. And then the last ship in the Japanese fleet is the Zuikaku. And he has 4 stands of airplanes. So here's Zuikaku, another white resin, beautiful miniature, beautiful casting. It's great. Now I hand drew these lines on here, and I will not tell you. You can tell by the shaky line that my heart was beating trying to get that line just that straight. So I tried, and I tried real hard. I know this isn't the color scheme for this ship at this time in 1944. I know it was like a green, multicolored green camo, but I'm not interested in that. I don't have the time for that. Or the skill, I should say, more than anything. I just painted it like what I thought it would look like. And this is what I thought, and this is what I did. Now the zeros, I wasn't exactly sure if the 0 was supposed to be at the front or the back. I had it here so that I could see on my side, oh, those are my zeros. And would an opponent be able to tell there were zeros on the way in? Probably not, I don't think. So I put the name on my side. Well, here's the zeros. Anyway, let me see if I can get those into focus. Just white, some non-oil little panel lining along the wings there, some red dots, a canopy, black on the front by the propellers. I could put yellow here on the tips of the wings, but I might do that later. But anyway, you know, it looks pretty good. You know, you put them all on the ship there, ready to go out on their strike. Oops. I'm fiddling around now. Now I'm starting to ramble. Okay, and there you go. That's the aircraft carrier. So I did pick up. We're almost done. I did pick up the British fleet and the Bismarck. So I'll show you the British fleet. What comes to British fleet first? Here's the destroyers, the little ships. This is the Tribal class, a beautiful ship. I must say, I've seen the Tribal class in person, and it just it's a phenomenal looking ship. I love it. And these were painted the same as everything else. Exactly the same, only the deck color was different. And this was just, instead of being a yellowy, let me get the motto out. Instead of being a yellowy ochre, this was more of a, you can't really tell there, I guess, but more of a gray ochre. And that was the only difference. But on the tabletop, I can tell the difference on the tabletop. So here's the Tribal Class Destroyer. Beautiful ship. You know, next to a Japanese destroyer. Barely any difference, really. Like nothing really substantial. More torpedoes, far more torpedoes than the Japanese destroyer, but still, three nice little ships. And these come in the Royal Navy. The Royal Navy Starter Fleet. That's them. Next, we have the cruisers. We'll start off with the light cruiser, or they're technically all light cruisers, I think. Well, this is the Dido, and this is an anti-aircraft cruiser. It has the 3 turrets there in front. Looks pretty neat. Is this wobbly? Yeah, it is, but it is what it is. It's a wobbly base. It's not perfectly flat. But hey, to me it's fine. It's a gaming piece. That's the Dido. Here's the Neptune, which is another light cruiser, but a little bit heavier guns. 1941. Pretty nice. It's the Leander class. That's pretty nice. The last cruiser in line here is the Belfast, the HMS Belfast, which is still around. Another good-looking ship. The model is pretty nice too. I like it. You know, it's got the triple turrets in the front and the back, so it's got a fair bit of firepower to it. Not as much as a Mogami, and if we took a look at a Mogami class, you know, the bases aren't the same. Mogami class would eat this thing in the game. Currently, the Japanese cruisers are second to none at the moment. I don't know when that'll change, but currently, right now, the Belfast won't last against them. Second last ship in the pack is the Duke of York. So here it is, the Duke of York, and it's 1943. I know it had a camo in that time, but I'm not skilled enough to paint camo, I've said already. So I just did it a basic color. And it's a beautiful ship, though. There's another white resin cast ships. I don't know why. You can feel the difference. I don't know if this is the resin color, like a gray almost on white. But what a beautiful, beautiful ship or model. And it's really nice. You know, it's a really nice model. Really basic paint job. How many times have I said that now? 50, 60 times? The last thing for the British Starter Flag pack was the HMS Eagle. And he's painted slightly different. Because he has an armored deck, I decided to give him a painted exactly the same way as all the rest of the ships, except this one here has the Mechanica Standard Gray deck, sort of like what I do with the American ships. And then I just, with a small brush, I just panel lined here. But that's it, the HMS Eagle. And then HMS Eagle comes with the fairly useful but useless ferry swordfish bombers. Now, I'm not very good at painting, you can tell already, but I tried my best. And let me see if I can get it. I tried my best to get the two-tone look on these things, and it was hard. It was hard at the scale, so I didn't bother trying. I just did this, something very basic. You can see it from the tabletop, who it is, what it is. And there you go. You get your four flights now. 3 of them have their base on. 1 of them does not because I lost it. But since I have found it, this little blue cover is supposed to connect into these little holes here and show what kind of bomber, torpedo bomber. Not sure what A means, but I found that since, and I'll put that on eventually once I paint it up. But there's the Eagle. Nice ship. The very last thing in the entire set that I bought was the Bismarck. And now for this one, I did decide to go with the angled front turrets, just because I only have one German ship. And again, it's that white resin that I loved. I only have the one German ship, but I thought maybe angling it, make it look more of a diorama piece in my display case, because I'm probably not going to collect the rest of the Kriegsmarine. You know, if the Eugen comes out, I'll have the Eugen just to fight off against the Hood, and not the Prince of Wales, the Duke of York, I think it is. No, the Prince of Wales. Yeah, the Prince of Wales. So I'll get the Hood and the Duke of Wales, or sorry, the Prince of Wales, and then the Eugen, and then we'll just have the Denmark Strait battle every couple of years. But this is a beautiful ship. I don't know if they're all to scale. Like they say it's 1/1700th or 1/1800th scale, but some of the barrels on the guns don't even look close. I mean, 18 versus 14, maybe that's right. Oh no, these are 15, sorry, not 18. These are 15-inch guns, I believe, versus 14. Big difference in thickness there, but either way, that's it. That is the Victory at Sea set that I've painted. I mean, I don't know how many ships that was, but you know, if I get them all into view here, we see them. Will they all even fit on screen? I don't know. Maybe I can zoom out a bit here. Yep. Keep coming. Lots of destroyers. American battleship can come up front here. And the Eagle. Maybe the Eagle can go there. And then some fighters. So that is all the ships painted. The only thing that I didn't paint so far, out of the entire collection that I have, is the Altmark, the German supply ship. I didn't paint him because unless it's an objective-based game, I didn't think it was worth it at the moment to spend time on it at the moment. But I will get to it eventually. Other than that, oh wait, I forgot the two battleships for the Japanese. Boop. There's one. There's the Yamato. That's them. That's so far what I've painted for Victory at Seas, and I have not played a single game. But I will rectify that this weekend. Maybe one time I will take a video of the game in action, let people know what it's like. But otherwise, this is it. This is the game, or this is the set that I have. This is my second video. Thanks for tuning in. You don't have to subscribe or do any of that stuff. It's not really. I'm not really doing this for somebody else. I'm kind of doing this for myself and to enjoy my own hobby and to voice my opinions on stuff. Anyway, that's that. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below, and have a great day.